All right, last time on the curse of, always try to remember exactly where we left off.
You don't even remember?
Danica? Who's the last person you talked to? It might have been Danica. Anyways, last time, the party was doing stuff, and to recap all the stuff, the so much stuff that the party did, because you guys just know everything that happened last session. Syndra.
All right. Woohoo. All right. So last time we picked off right when the elk turned into a man and his eyes crackled with eldritch power. He has a permanent frown and tells us not to move any closer. He's super mad, and we learned that he needs a restoration spell that will break his madness. And we got 900 XP. Woo! Then we went back to town to case the burgomaster's place, and we left Sleeping Cane with our friend Ez. So we walked straight into his place. It seemed super empty. And we ran into Isaac. Ramis deceived him very suavely. Then Zug and I went into the attic. Ramis went into the library per Isaac's direction. He does some smooth talking and runs into the burgomaster with his two mastiffs. Then I stealth into the attic and I heroically bust through that door in a very calm way, and I tripped, but I was fine. It was all fine. And I chatted with Victor. He tells me about an abbey, the Abbey of St. Markova, that there's a spring, Markovia.
Oh. Who's echoing? Is it me?
Where there's a, what?
Sorry, I was echoing really loudly through someone, but I think it's okay now.
She sounded like a demon.
That's cool.
Sounded like is.
All right, right on. Yeah, so there's a spring that has some that can cure some restoration. Okay, cool. I asked Victor for the book, and we learned that bards can cast it as a level 5 spell at level 9. So Ramis is not quite there just yet. We ran into Isaac on the way out, and he tried to give us some old rusty breastplates and swords. We kind of snubbed that offering, and Zug takes one of each. Then we went back to the Blue Water Inn, and Irina and company want to go to Kresk with us in the morning. And then while in the bar, I believe it was Ramis and Zug ran into Ernst, who brings them an invitation. And then Zug and Ramis ran into the Watcher brothers. We learned that Lady Fiona is their mother, who people say should rule over the burgomaster, or instead of the burgomaster. Then Danica tells Ramis to read the letter. It's an invitation, yada, yada. And then Kane woke up in the middle of the night and put whipped cream in Zug's hand and tickled his nose. And that's what I got. That's what I got.
Are you taking notes?
Those are very thorough.
Yeah, can you share those in Discord after every
Sure.
Well, we can just kind of have you do the recap.
I can do that. That's fine. I like doing that.
That was very good.
Yeah, that was the best recap we've had.
Oh, thank you.
That's better than my recaps.
You remembered more than the DM could have.
Well,
I didn't remember any of that. I wrote it all down and read it straight from the book.
Anyways, so let's first thing on the menu is discussing the level up. I would like to know what everyone has chosen.
I chose level 4.
Yes. That is the number after 3.
It was one of my options.
Did you choose anything specific?
Yeah, I can go first. I was gonna mess around with feats, but there were too many good sounding ones that I decided just to go with stats. So my dex and charisma are now higher. And I took a couple of new spells. I don't remember actually the ones I selected except for invisibility.
Oh, nice.
That felt like very useful because I can cast it on other people as well.
Ooh.
So like Syndra and I can be sneaky and then we can like maybe give Zug a little lift. Not that he needs it. And that's me.
Nice. I can go
Okay.
next.
Yes, go next.
I decided to choose a feat, and I went with crossbow expert.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought that would be pretty cool. And it also, go away. Thingamajig, what is this? God damn it. Oh, there we go. So I get to ignore the loading property of crossbows, which I'm proficient in, and being within 5 feet of a hostile creature doesn't impose disadvantage on my ranged attack rolls. And then when I use the attack action and attack with a one-handed weapon, I can use a bonus action to attack with a hand crossbow I'm already holding. But
Wait.
that's pretty cool.
That last one is like you can use like a melee and a crossbow, or was that 2 crossbows?
I think I can do, if I'm holding like 2 hand crossbows, I can use both.
Sick.
I believe. Yeah, so I can essentially do a double attack if I have the right weapons, which I don't right now, but I figure maybe I visit the blacksmith before we go out of town and check some stuff out. What is he doing?
He's just obsessed with Ryan.
Oh.
He's
I wish my cats were obsessed with me.
obsessed. Like he just wants to be on him all the time. It's pretty funny. Okay, thank you. Who else would like to volunteer what new features their character is sporting?
I'll go.
No new features.
I raised my strength by 2.
Good call.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about you, Kane?
I just raised my int.
Raised int? Okay.
You don't get any new spells? And
There's a cantrip, but
gotcha.
All right. So wonderful. So we will pick up where we left off last time, which was in the inn. I think that you finally agreed to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that Cinder did a pretty good recap for us about what happened last time, what your intentions were.
There was one other point that I don't remember from the recap is Ismark and
Irina.
were going to come with us. Did you say that?
Cinder did say that.
Shit, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking of Esmeralda. I thought you said Esmeralda.
She did say that Ismark and Irina basically asked to come along with you guys, which they did. They asked to come. Because Irina is feeling like a prisoner in a whole different way inside the town of Vallaki, and she's heard that Krez also is fortified and would like to be free to move around the town, which she does not feel with Isaac nearby. Yeah. So the dawn comes. You are all slumbering. You hear a knock at the door. It's very loud and very excited. A second round of knocking comes.
Who's closest to the door?
Yeah, you're all equidistant.
Zug, you're closest.
I pull myself up.
Remise rolls over.
I pick the eye bogies from my eyes.
Oh, I do
And I
that
flick them.
every day.
I flick them indiscriminately. And I shuffle to the door. Put my hand on the door. Let out a big sigh. And then I open it just ever so slightly and poke my eye in the slot and to see who it is.
It is Irina.
Mm.
And as soon as you open the door wide enough for her to stick her fingers in, she pushes them into the door crack and opens the door to reveal herself Ismark sluggishly standing behind her. She's holding a bag filled with lumpy possessions. The bag is lumpy.
Okay.
And she says, shall we?
What time is it?
Judging by the non-existent clock, but the light shining in through the window, it's probably about 5:30 to 6 a.m.
Are Ramesh and Zug
Okay.
hungover?
Definitely.
I'll open the door all the way and welcome them in to our little bedroom.
And they both walk inside. Irina with a slight pep in her step. Ismark with a normal to dour pep in his step. And Irina sits down on the bed next to Ramis, and she says, I figured we could leave early to avoid running into, you know.
Wolves?
She says, Isaac.
Isaac does not sleep, however, I do. I put the pillow over my head.
And she grabs the pillow and she says, please, come on. It's best that we get an early start.
Yes, Your Highness.
And she
I don't
waits
have pants
patiently.
on, by the way, and I just stand up right in front of her.
Not wearing pants or anything else?
Nothing.
Just
Yeah, and I sluggishly,
just shirt dicking it.
slowly get ready.
She kindly looks away, but Ismark surprisingly doesn't.
Give Bismarck a little wink.
Does he give like an eyebrow raise or anything?
No,
Or just doesn't look away? No.
no, he's just not embarrassed.
I figured.
He's cool with that. Or maybe he just doesn't have the social etiquette to try to do something like that. He's like, there is something for me to look at here, and I'm going to look at it.
Oh, yes, there is.
All right, Jensing. So she waits for you to retrieve your belongings and get yourself ready. Everyone up, getting ready?
Yep.
Anyone want to make snide remarks at Kane, who has now been asleep for approximately 16 hours?
That's not true. I
You
got
woke
up
up.
last night and did the whipped cream thing.
That's true. Yeah, how's Doug looking this morning?
Clean
Does he have
shaven?
whipped cream on his face? All right. So y'all get up, get yourself cleaned up, and Ismark begins to descend the stairs, walks out of the tavern, and looks four ways, because the tavern does intersect at a four-way intersection, to see if there's anyone nearby. He spies a couple of guards who are on night shift. The shifts have not changed yet, but otherwise the town looks pretty quiet. And Ismark quietly motions back up to you, assuming that some of the other patrons might still be sleeping, and sort of gestures, let's go.
Where is Esmeralda?
She was sleeping on the floor in the same room with you guys.
Okay.
She likes to sleep on the floor. That is the second time you witnessed her sleeping on the floor.
Mhm.
Savage. She's like awake and ready.
She is awake and she is joining you and she is rearing to go.
Are the inn's keeps awake and Adam?
Nope.
No?
Not yet. You don't hear any noise coming from anywhere inside the inn either.
I'm standing, blinking, trying to wake up.
Irina trots out after her brother, and the two of them begin to head west. down the western road of Lackey. I don't want to always assume that you guys are just all like following.
Yeah,
Everyone's
Haris
just coming
will
along, all
lift
good?
the hood of his cloak over his head and pursue them.
Esmeralda is up in the rear. Oh, he just got hold of a dice and he started playing with it, which was, I mean, it was kind of cute.
Ace just rolled a 50.
Ace, you want to roll the dice again? Go ahead and get it. Get it. No, he's not interested anymore. But he did. It was very funny. Yes, it was. Okay. So y'all are heading out the town, out the western gate. There are 2 guards perched atop the gate who observe you leave and say nothing. Okay. He's gonna do it again. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it.
Just
He's trying to roll.
Roll the
I
dice.
think Ace should decide our fates
There
today.
it is. Roll the d20, Ace. There is actually something I need to roll for today. So Ace, do you want? Oh, I fell on the ground. Ace,
Darn it,
roll.
Ace.
Roll for us.
Yeah.
Do it.
We believe in you.
Get out. Ah.
How?
He's just not interested anymore. Sorry, guys. It was cute the one time.
How disguised are they? Are they like fully covered, our traveling companions?
They're wearing just a cloak, a simple cloak
No hood?
with a hood. Yeah,
Okay.
simple cloak with a hood.
Mies feels comfortable with their level of discretion.
It's hard to be discreet with a giant half orc and old man and creepy looking rogue and giant golden.
But nobody would know that it's Ismark.
Not necessarily.
No.
Not necessarily. But they would probably notice you as a party moving. But them individually, specifically, maybe not.
Ramis will fall in line with Kane and hand over and pull an open letter from his cloak and hand it to Kane. Say, curiosity got the best of me.
What is this?
It is from your friend from the tavern. I'm too tired to remember his name. Read it, it will explain itself.
I understand being too tired. I open up the letter.
Yeah, and the letter is an invitation from Lady Watcher. It doesn't say anywhere on it the name of the man, but it's an invitation to dine with Lady Watcher at the Watcher estate.
Yes, the Watcher. I remember this. There was a gentleman that that I spoke to at the tavern. Yes, I must say I got not such a good feeling from that chap.
So we continue to Kresk.
Yeah, well, I believe that's probably prudent, yes.
Oh, okay, good.
When was the invitation for? Was it that day?
The invitation does not have a date on it.
Unspecified.
Oh, okay. All right.
Insert into quest log.
Yep.
Nice.
Putting that in our back pocket for later.
I do not remember liking that person all of that much.
Yeah, you did have a conversation with Ernst, and just to briefly remind you, Ernst suggested that there is leadership better suited for the town, and Ernst also suggested that you do not know Strahd as well as you think you do, which is probably a fair assessment because you know nothing.
I don't think we know
We
Strahd.
don't know her. We are Jon Snow when it comes to that particular individual.
All right, so I have already rolled for your journey, which is going to take you approximately 2 hours to get to Kresk. And I'm delighted to inform you that there will be no random encounters today. Yeah. So I did already do all the rolls that I needed to, and no roll was high enough to provide a random encounter on your journey, so long as you are staying on the road, which I presume you will with a large party.
Ramis will lean over to Kane. I feel strangely comfortable with our journey today. Today will be a good day.
So you could take your journey straight to Kresk. It will take a few hours. You will make it there unharmed. Well, not by a random encounter anyways.
We may harm ourselves.
Yeah, you might harm yourselves. However, no, go ahead.
Nope.
However, I will take checks from the party on, let me take a, hold on, give me one moment. Excuse me. Wisdom, please, perception.
9.
20.
23.
22.
Jesus fuck.
Okay, and okay, the three of you, Ramis is just blindly consumed with his own narcissism, and the
He's
three
looking
of
at a
you.
mirror. Ah, yes, I do perceive.
I perceive my own beauty. So the three of you all get a feeling like you are being watched. And
While we're on the road to Kresk.
while you are on the road to Kresk, yes. And this is a lingering feeling, a persistent feeling of being watched. You don't actually see or smell or hear anything, but you feel like you are being watched. You feel it in your bones.
Gross.
I don't like feeling anything in my bones.
Yeah,
Mm.
except the proper amount of calcium.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, so is there anything that the party would like to do whilst on the road? Opportunity to do anything specific, to write anything down, to have any conversations? I got you.
Like to do on the road.
Yes, just head straight there. That's cool with me. Just an opportunity, if anyone wants to take it.
I think Ramis will walk close to Esmeralda and be whistling. Whistling various tunes.
What tune are you whistling? Is it a pleasant tune?
It's just one he's making up, and it's beautiful.
Roll to see how beautiful and not annoying it is. How well do you whistle?
Wait, is this performance?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Well, you are most certainly trying to perform in front of Ez, so
20.
okay.
Nice.
I'm making it look effortless, though.
Yeah,
Just
that's
kinda
part of the performance.
Like if I could whistle through my teeth in actuality, or like just like with a soft mouth, that's what Ramis is doing.
Upon hearing your graceful whistling, Ez turns and she says, "Where is that tune from?"
I've invented it myself.
Ah, that is very impressive.
Would you like to know the inspiration for the tune?
Sure.
It is you. And then he will pick up his pace and continue walk in front of her. But still whistling loudly.
She nods her head and she slows down her pace to avoid further confrontation with Ramis.
Ramis lets out an audible laugh.
Ez finds her way to Sindra and asks Sindra, is he always like that?
Always.
And she says, does he make whistles based off of your likeness?
No, he hasn't yet. But you know, I guess I'm not as lucky as you are.
Yes, lucky indeed I am. And her eyes like widen for a second. And she's like trying to process what she thinks about the situation because she's not sure. And she like slowly makes her way to the back to the caboose of the train again.
Where's Ismark?
Probably in front.
He will be his next victim.
Are
Ramis
you
will
just
be
gonna keep victimizing
charging towards Ismark.
all the NPCs with your whistling?
He's gonna like I will approach Ismark and be walking alongside him, whistling, just kind of looking around.
Ismark is like actually nodding his head along to your tune.
Ismark, you were always a man of fine taste. How was your stay in Vallaki? It sounds as if it might have been torture adjacent.
Ismark replies, for Irina, certainly it was torturous, but for me, it was mostly just tense. I worry a lot for her, and without the lot of you there to actively protect her, I kept her in the room for the most part and brought her her food, brought her her drink, and I can't imagine that it could have been fun to be holed up in a room for weeks on end. It's a quarantine metaphor.
So are we vaccinated?
You don't know anything about that.
Nice.
I actually have my vaccination appointment for Monday. No, I
Yay!
think it's
The
next.
first one is
Yeah,
Wednesday.
no, it's tomorrow. Never mind.
Damn, y'all are crushing it.
You have one on Wednesday? Why is everybody have appointments for us? San Francisco is so hard.
You
Dude,
gotta-
my work is pairing with a pharmacy, and they're like family and friends, or no, family and like roommates can come on this day. So we're going next Wednesday.
I have to drive up to Richmond for mine though.
Yeah, we should just drive to like Fresno or something.
Fresno
Richmond.
has
You
opened.
You guys can go to
for
Richmond. Like there
CVS.
was appointments this afternoon to go tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah,
Look at
If-
I
if-
just used the Kaiser website for mine.
If you're
Okay.
willing to drive, you can go.
I've heard like Modesto, Stockton, Fresno. those-
Stockton, I did see appointments in Stockton.
Fresno had none. Modesto had none.
Okay.
Richmond had a bunch.
We're gonna
tomorrow.
pause
Really?
the vaccination conversation for after D&D, and we're gonna get back to the story because I do want to hear about this, but just not right now.
Do you fear anything in Kresk?
Ismark says, I've asked around a little bit, and not many of the townsfolk seem to actually know much about Kresk. It seems like it's quite a small, tight-knit village. So I guess we'll have to see when we get there. But I have heard, at the very least, that it's fortified and also not particularly easy to get into. But knowing you and my sister, I have a feeling that we'll be able to come up with something.
Is Irina standing there?
Yes.
I look at her. We make a fine team. Smiling. Large.
She turns to you and she says, a tactical team indeed.
Tactical.
She heard you and Ez. She is disarmed by your flirtation, but now hostile to it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do I detect this?
Not really.
Can I roll?
She's not really
Insight?
hostile, but she heard it. And she's like,
I in a hushed tone, I say, "She means nothing to me." And I laugh again. And then I kind of, then Ramis would like to be alone for a while.
This is how I feel dating Ryan every day. Okay, so they continue on, and at various points during your excursion, you hear sounds coming from the woods around you. You hear distant howl. Every once in a while, you can hear, oh no. Every once in a while, you can hear the hollow clanking noise of Esmeralda's wooden foot against a cobble at the right angle.
Is she stealthy?
I mean, if she's on a cobble with her wood foot, every once in a while, it makes like a hollowed, like, you know, woody noise. She's stealthy when she needs to be.
If Ramis hears this, he will say, "We should start a band. You make the perfect rhythm section."
Quite the percussion artist, indeed.
Ramis will nod and laugh at Kane's joke too.
And Ez retorts back, "What instrument do you think that Zug will play?"
Is the goblet an instrument in this culture?
All right, so eventually after a couple of hours of traveling, you make it to a fork in the road. The road continues west where you can see a blanket of fog, and it's kind of obscuring your vision. And there is also a fork that goes north. So you're right, and that would be north. And there is a small signpost in the middle of the fork that points to the northern road that reads Kresk. Irina sees the sign and immediately turns towards the northern road and continues to follow it. So the road branches north and climbs a rocky escarpment, and it ends at a gatehouse built into a 20-foot high wall of stone, reinforced with buttresses every 50 feet or so. The wall encloses a settlement on the side of a snow-dusted mountain spur. Beyond the wall, you can see the tops of snow-covered pines and thin white wisps of smoke. The somber toll of a bell comes from a stone abbey that clings to the mountainside high above the settlement. The steady chime is inviting, a welcome change from the deathly silence and oppressive fog to which you all have grown accustomed. It's hard to tell at this distance, but there seems to be a switchback road clinging to the cliffs that lead up from the walled settlement to the abbey. So basically, you can see the settlement. You see 20-foot high walls that are encompassing what looks like a smallish settlement. You can see the tops of piney trees with snow dusting them. It's very pretty. And way back in the distance in the fog, you see cliffs, a road climbing through them, and a large abbey sitting atop the switchback road. So as you approach, as you walk on the junction, it takes you 10 minutes and you arrive at the gatehouse. The air begins to grow colder as you approach the walled settlement. 2 square towers with peaked roofs are flanking a stone archway into which is set a pair of 12 foot tall iron bound wooden doors. There's 2 huge wooden doors. And carved into the arch above the doors is the name Krezk. The walls that extend from the gatehouse are 20 feet high. Atop the parapet, you see 4 figures wearing fur hats and clutching spears. And as you approach, they watch you nervously.
Are we within earshot?
You are now.
Greetings! We would like to enter Krezk. We have traveled from Velaki. We bring refugees.
One of the female guards perched on top of the wall leans over a little bit to get a closer look, and she says, "Stay right there. I will fetch the burgomaster."
Another burgomaster.
Land
And-
of burgers.
She disappears down into the stone building. She is gone for about 10 minutes.
Oh, I hate waiting.
She comes back and appears back on top of the wall with a short man wearing a fur hat standing next to her. The man also leans over to get a better look. And he says, "Hello? Who are you?"
My lord, my name is Ramis the Golden. These are my friends. We come to enter your wonderful city.
He says, "Well, it's nice that you are able to identify that I am a lord." Brownie points. And
This size.
he says, "I assume that you are either Strahd's allies or you are his enemies. Either way, it is trouble for me."
The world is not black and white, my friend. We are new to this land, and we know not whether we are enemies or allies.
He says, "Well, not knowing where you stand is even worse.
Oh.
I do not have a reason to shelter you either way."
Are you so sure?
He says, "Well, you have not done anything for my village."
Perhaps we could.
He eyes you. "Perhaps."
You see, in this land, we are new, but where we come from,
You're old.
we're very old. We are heroes. This is why we travel together.
I have seen lots like yours before come and fall.
We have not yet fallen.
Not yet. He says, "There is something that you could do that would potentially convince me to let you have shelter, since you are heroes, as you claim." He says, "We have not received our wine
God.
for quite some
Son of a
time."
bitch.
I raise my arms up. Just like, why?
He says, if you secure us a wagon load of wine, I would have great reason to not only believe that you are in fact the heroes that you claim, but also to provide you shelter.
Meta check. Is there wine left at the Wizard of Wines?
No, not that you know of. Not untainted wine that you know of.
Mm,
Yeah.
Sounds like we need to take a trip to the forest of druids.
I will say, my friend, you and every other town in Barovia has made this request, and we have been to the source. The wine has been poisoned. We can bring you this wine, but I can tell you it will not taste very good.
He
Oh,
says,
will it be safe?
without that wine, my people don't have anything to live for. And
Oh, that's dark.
wisdom check from everyone.
ooh,
Just a wisdom check.
Just a wisdom check.
Damn it! Reese is not wise. Oof. 4.
Just a regular old wisdom check.
Regular wisdom.
Quick.
Typical.
21.
21.
Ooh!
I rolled a 3.
Oh my god!
So 6.
And what was it from Zug?
5.
Oh,
Unless we kept the house re-roll 3 rules from Michael's campaign.
I have to roll a second roll. Wow. Okay. So, Ez and Sindra are the two individuals who are able to pass the DC. And Ez also rolled again to notice that Sindra has noticed it, the thing. So Ez knows that you have noticed. And Ez walks up over to you and she says, you see it. And what it is that only Sindra knows and the rest of you do not is that Dimitri is trying to hide the fact that he is heavily distraught.
I think Ramis will still keep yelling at him. My friend,
And Ez is like gonna cut off Ramis.
I am a renowned performer. No, please. I'm dealing with this now.
Let me speak to
I
him.
am a famous performer.
Hmm.
I could entertain your town for a millennia. They would never grow tired of me.
And Ez says, excuse my boisterous friend. And
Sounded like she almost had a boyfriend. Chill out, this. Chill.
as she walks closer to the wall to get a little bit closer to Dimitri. And she looks up and she says, are you okay? And he looks down and he says, I am not doing a good job of hiding, am I? And Ez says, well, you are making a good effort to try. And Dimitri says, we have had some trouble here. Me personally, I've had much trouble lately. My youngest son, Ilya, he died last week. He was the last of my children. They have all died. And like Barovia is a sad place, but that is like fucking tragic. And it's just like immediately puts her hand like on her stomach. And Irina walks forward. And Irina says, how did this happen? Dimitri says, apparently, according to our specialists, which we have no priest here, but it was natural causes. Irina asks, how old was he? Dmitri says, he just turned 14. Irina says, I used to help the priest in the village of Barovia in funeral affairs. My brother Ismark and I, we just lost our father to natural causes, or in my opinion, bizarre forces as well. Perhaps we could assist you in figuring out what happened to your children. Dimitri's demeanor completely softens. His hardness dissolves at the thought of his children. And he turns to the female guard and he says, let them in. The guards swing open the giant iron gates, wooden iron-bound gates, and you are all able to freely travel into Kresk. And Dmitri meets you down at the lower part of the wall, and he says, we would still like to know what's going on with the wine situation.
So would we.
So, Dmitri escorts you to walk through the areas of the town. And as you come into the town, it's actually a pretty small town. It is a lot smaller than Vallaki, and even smaller than the village of Barovia. So you guys head in, and the town immediately forks in a few different directions towards the north. So you guys are heading straight north. And you can see now clearly that you are inside of the walls. The abbey with the switchback road going up the cliffs, pretty much dead ahead. It is north, and the abbey itself is slightly northeast of where you were standing. There are plentiful little cottages that are surrounding the area. So the mist is shrouding the village beyond the wall. And the village is nothing more than a scattering of humble wooden cottages along dirt roads that stretch between strands of snow-dusted pine trees. So many trees, in fact, as to constitute a forest.
So there's like a forest in the town?
Yes.
Like the homes are built inside the forest?
In a sense, yeah. It's very woodsy and foresty, and there are little cottages strewn about. The residences are, as far as you can see, single-story pine cottages. They have stone chimneys and they have thatch roofs, and they look fairly modest. Most of the cottages look really small. In fact, the cottages look like they probably couldn't be more than 300 square feet total in space. They're very small. Which for reference would be about double the size of my bedroom.
That's huge.
The burgomaster leads you around the town and points out that, he says, we don't have many things that we require from the outside here. We do all of our own work.
Except wine.
Except for wine. We mostly operate as a commune of sorts. No exports, no things coming in, just the wine. That's the only thing that we need from the outside world. We grow our own trees. We grow our own vegetables. We cut the wood to heat up our homes. We raise the chickens and the pigs, and we all share our food. And as he continues to kind of walk you around the town, it doesn't take that long to give you the grand tour of the town. You can see there are a few cows and mules outside here and there. The weather is quite cold, so most of them are built inside of houses. And you see small bits of smoke coming from cottages here and there. It's still pretty early morning for most. And after a loop around the town, Ramis notices something very glaring, which is that there are no taverns and no inns at all in this town. The burgomaster finally brings you back to basically where the town, where you started your tour. And he says, "This is my cottage," pointing to a larger than most of the other cottages, but still modest dwelling. He brings you inside to sit down and chat. And inside, doing some basic household chores is a woman who looks very strong. She looks really buff. And he opens the door and he says, "Anna, I have brought some guests." And Anna stops what she's doing, turns towards the door and sees the lot of you. And there is a whole lot of you. And she says, "Goodness." And she says, "Let me make some room." And she begins to tidy up the living area, the table. It's pretty small. This cottage is probably like 600 square feet, about the size of a one-bedroom apartment. Granted, this is where the two of them and their supposed now deceased children lived. So you all pile inside and sit down in the various locations that you are able to sit in. And Anna looks towards the party and she says, "What brought you all here?" With a sort of connotation in her voice that you are not the first group of travelers that she has met.
I nudge someone close to me.
Nudge one of the people who talk.
So we detected that she's insinuating that adventurers come through here often.
Yeah, that adventurers have, she's seen adventurers, groups of people who travel and are strong like yourselves before.
Likely the same as those before us, but also these two, and like nods at Irina and Bismarck. They need a safe place to stay.
Anna has a more hospitable demeanor than her husband, Dmitri. And she says, "All right, well, I can make up one of the kids' bedrooms and the two of you can stay there for now."
We have learned of your loss. We are very sorry.
Anna nods her head and looks down and says, "Yes, well, it has been quite a difficult time for us for many reasons." And Irina says, "Has he been buried yet?" And Anna looks up with a curious expression. And she says, just a few days ago. And Irina says, would I be able to see the plot? And Anna says, I can take you out back. And one of the things that you guys noticed while taking your tour of the town was that each of the cottages has their own little teeny graveyard in the back. Yeah, which would be cute if it wasn't kind of disturbing.
What do you mean kind of cute? How in what world would that be cute?
That like they bury
This
their
world where
relatives,
everything
like
else is way
right
worse.
outside.
Yeah, zombie apocalypse though, they're all fucked. They have their own little like zombie
true.
seeding ground.
Oh no. No.
That's a great
Yeah.
point.
That's a really good point.
Anyways,
That's a really good point.
so
Yeah.
wait, so
I like it that she likes
Anna
that.
are going out back. Is it implied that we should follow or that we should stay?
No, it is not implied that you should follow. Irina, in fact, gives the intention that she would like to go alone.
Okay.
Anna leads Irina out the back, where they visit the grave. The rest of you sitting inside continue to talk to Dimitri. There are no servants here, nothing like that, not like in Valaki, no maids, it's just Dimitri. And he says, he looks at Ismark, and he says, that is your sister? Ismark says, yeah. And Dimitri asks, so she said that you lost your father, I'm so sorry, of natural causes, but she mentioned bizarre forces. What did she mean? Because we've been trying to cope with this horrible loss for quite some time now. But knowing that there is no reason for what has happened, that is the worst part. And Ismark says, well, we think that it could have something to do with Strahd, with Strahd's forces, because our dad was okay, and then suddenly he wasn't. And Dimitri says, this is why I am very concerned with bringing you here. I do not want anything more to happen to my town. And Dimitri sinks his head and he says, though I cannot imagine what more could be taken from me. And you all, without having to roll, just like sense how like unbelievably shattered and distraught this man is.
Would Strahd have any reason to do this?
Dimitri says, you know, we don't leave the village. We don't go anywhere. I don't know why this would anger Strahd. And he says, however, I do not know what is to be true or what is not. But there are things that are bizarre here that cannot be explained. He says, firstly, let me tell you a little bit about our village. We do have a blessed spring. Our blessed spring heals corruption. It does not bring those back from the dead, but it heals corruption and it keeps corruption at bay. But we also have an abbot living in the abbey. He does not visit very often, nor do we speak to him very often. Some of my townsfolk have told me in secret that they believe that this is actually Strahd in disguise. I do not believe it, but there are strange things that I cannot answer. He arrived here a very long time ago, longer than My father was burgomaster of this town, longer than his father was burgomaster of this town. And yet he is not aged. He looks the same. And that cannot be explained.
He is not an elf.
Most definitely not an elf.
This man is human.
He's a human. Granted, a flashy, noble human, but a human.
Flashy noble humans are the worst.
Flashing.
Are the
We
worst.
would
And Ez, by the way, Ez is like sitting on the edge of her seat, listening to every word this guy is saying, just taking it in.
like to visit this spring.
He says, okay. He says, let me show you. And he walks outside to let Anna know that they'll be back in just a minute. And he takes you on about a 10-minute stroll up to the northernmost part of the town. So you arrive there, and even under gray skies, the pool at the north end of the village is shimmering and it is sparkling. Near the shore of the pool, there is an old gazebo that looks like it is on the verge of collapse. There's a wooden statue of a mournful, bare-chested man. Its paint is chipped and faded. It's standing in the gazebo with arms outstretched as though waiting to be embraced. And Dimitri says, "This is our pool. It is blessed. It is fed by an underground spring that was blessed a very long time ago by Saint Markovia herself. Drinking from this spring will heal you, and it will make you feel very good and nice. It also tastes very good and sweet for water." He says, "This statue, this is the Morning Lord, who Saint Markovia was dedicated to." He says, "We call this gazebo the Shrine of the White Sun. We're not sure why the ancestors named it that, but it's referred to as the Shrine of the White Sun here. Saint Markovia, very long ago, used to run the abbey. But there was an altercation. Saint Markovia gathered the strength, gathered the forces to assault Strahd. Being here long enough, you probably know how that went. It did not go well. So the abbey has been empty for quite a long time, but then our abbot arrives out of nowhere. He arrives, he goes, he sits in the abbey, he doesn't age. No one really gets to talk to him. We do fine down here on our own, but strange things are happening up there. Strange things." Ez approaches the shrine. She looks at the statue. She says, "I have seen pictures of this man in one of my books." Dimitri says, "Yeah. The Morning Lord is very popular, was very popular for a long time until, well, you know." And Ed says, "No, I don't know." And Dimitri says, "Well, as soon as Strahd defeated his assailants, he did not just defeat them, he defeated all hope, all chance. And Ez says, hope cannot be lost unless you let it be lost. Dimitri stands there, totally out of hope. Ez walks up to the pool. She looks at the water. She stares into it. She says, looks to the party. Should we try it?
Ramesh is gonna look at Dimitri and hold out a flask recently emptied and say, may I?
Dimitri says, it is okay. It used to be stronger. It is weaker now, but still blessed.
Look.
I'll just dip my hands in and drink.
Ramesh will take a sip.
So you all take a sip of the water all at once, just assuming that it's fine.
Mhm.
Yep.
Not staggering or anything like that in case it's poisoned. Yeah.
Hold off for like 1 minute. I zug a little bit, and then I'll go and I'll take it.
You should not be watching Zug. You should be watching Kane, the frailest member of the party.
I think I'm not as frail as Zug anymore.
The weight of the water probably broke his wrist.
Oh.
How much constitution you guys have? I think I have more constitution than both of you.
No way.
That's probably true.
I have 17.
Yeah, I have way more constitution than you. I put points in constitution and intelligence.
Why?
I don't want to get killed.
Because I'm so old.
Constitution is like universally good.
Here's a good stat. So the water tastes very sweet and fresh. And you all feel just a little bit better. Your hangover is cured, and so is Zug's.
I was hoping. Ramesh will cap his flask with the remaining contents.
I will continue drinking.
Just like a dog.
Trying to have like a conversation. I'm just like, uh-huh.
Yeah. So it says, this is very bizarre. I've not come across anything like this in my endeavors in Barovia yet. And Dimitri says, well, our town is quite special. And you're standing near the base of the road that leads up through the cliffs to the Abbey. And the Abbey is very clear to you. And you hear a heinous, faint laughter come from the direction of the Abbey.
Does he react?
Not even a little bit.
That is coming.
Dimitri says, the Abbey of Saint Markovia. Well, her most loyal followers.
I
You're-
think the
We
mic
didn't
stopped
hear that.
or cut out.
Oh,
Repeat the last 10 seconds.
oh, my internet connection is unstable. Are we okay now?
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
like it.
He says, Markovia and her most loyal. Sorry, that's Ez. He says, Markovia and her most loyal followers. Well, they stormed Castle Ravenloft and they were destroyed. The Abbey before that used to be a hospital and a convent. But it fell on hard times after the land was swallowed up by the mists. Some of the clergy fell prey to Strahd. Others went mad and either starved themselves to death or turned to cannibalism.
Oh,
Oof.
okay.
The abbot who comes here sometimes visits the shrine of the White Sun, does not talk much, does not have reason to converse with us much. But he does demand tribute in the form of wine. That is why we are all nervous that we haven't received our shipment for a while. Nobody from the village visits the abbot or the abbey anymore, but sometimes the abbey bell rings at irregular times, day, night, and sometimes we hear screams, or sometimes we hear laughter. Would you go up there after hearing something like that?
I would love to hear the joke that he must have just received.
Dimitri says, I just feel something must be happening here that I don't know about. There is no reason that my children should die. As you can see, my wife and I, we are too old to have more children. And with the last of my children dying, well, that ends the Kreskov bloodline.
Perhaps that is the purpose of what has befallen you.
He says, yes, maybe Anna and your friend have uncovered something. Let us return and leave this place. And with that, he turns and ushers himself and the group back towards his cottage.
As we're walking, I think Ramesh would like to clarify, has the abbot done anything to the village that you have witnessed?
Nothing bad. In fact, I have actually seen him perform several acts of good over the years. He has never harmed anyone or wished anyone ill will, though sometimes when he does speak, the willful intent is there. It's in his voice. But he has never done anything malicious to anyone in the town. I can't imagine that Strahd himself would be up there disguised, spending his time doing goodness knows what. It is peculiar and quite a mystery to me.
Yet you fear him.
Would you not fear a man who presides in a location such as that and does not age?
Not unless he made me fear him, no.
Well, then you are a braver man than I. So, you guys head back to the cottage and head inside. And Irina and Anna meet you inside, and Irina says, I cannot uncover anything from the recent the fresh plot. But I would not be surprised if there is more at play here than what meets the eye. And she like reaches to touch like her neck, and she says, I feel there is corruption or foul play here.
Sounds like we got to dip somebody in the water.
Let's dunk
Throw
dog.
'em in the pool.
I volunteer.
I guess Ramesh will take Kane aside. We have gotten what we've come for. There's nothing left for us here.
I agree.
We not want to go have a chat with the abbot?
Hell no.
I know you guys originally wanted to come up here for a spell, but I think we all kind of colloquially determined that none of us could use it anyways.
Well, it was the water, right?
There
Yep.
was the water that we can use, but they supposedly had like a spell scroll that we can purchase.
Oh, yeah.
Do we need the water and a spell?
We don't know if the water will do it or not. So,
Fuck!
like, the spell is the surefire way.
Ramesh will take- I forgot something. There's a spell scroll here that we need.
Yeah.
That's
But we have to go to the abbot.
Abby.
Now,
The
I remember
rest of
that,
it.
but of course, Kane doesn't know anything because you guys didn't tell him anything. So he's oblivious to
So Kane's like, yeah, let's get the fuck out of
Like,
here.
yeah,
let's
you
fuck
on
this,
it.
fuck this place. Let's get out of here. This place is creepy. I don't want to speak to the abbot.
Okay,
Speak to
fine.
the abbot.
And as you deliberate, actually, that's it. You guys are deliberating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Abbot. I think we came on this way.
Wasn't it like a 2-hour walk?
Yeah.
That was like a 2-hour walk.
My feet are tired. It was a long walk, all right?
So about 30 minutes after you get back to the cottage, you're deliberating. You've chatted with
no, we're not done
Irina.
deliberating.
Okay.
So I guess Ramesh will turn to Dimitri and say, we believe at this time you met the abbot.
Dimitri has met the abbot.
Then why is he afraid of him?
Everyone
You will
in
take
town
us
has
to him.
met the abbot.
In his home.
Dimitri says, you want me to take you to the abbot?
We will help you learn more.
He says, you can go visit the abbot. I do not want to go up there.
You will come with us.
He says, I will not.
This is your town. This is your son.
What could the abbot possibly do for my son?
Not for your son. For you.
What could the abbot possibly do for me?
You do not know the cause of your son's death. And the strangest thing in this town is the abbot. We believe they might be connected.
If that is the case, then I do not wish to go.
We are strangers to the abbot. You will be helpful to our introduction.
Honestly,
I'm gonna roll persuasion. I'm convincing this man. He can't refuse me. 14. Fuck.
yeah. That is not going to be enough to persuade him to go somewhere he's terrified of.
He's terrified of the abbot?
He's terrified of the abbey. The abbot, he's like concerned about, like he's disdainful, like, but the abbey he does not want to go to. None of the villagers go to visit the abbey anymore. The abbot sometimes comes down, but they never go up.
Perhaps, Ramis, we may be able to convince the abbots to come down, or maybe we can gather some information on their behalf.
And Anna chimes in and she says, I'll go.
Ramis gives her a bow.
And as you are all chatting and deliberating, suddenly you hear a knock at the door.
Is it a zombie knock?
It's 4 precise knocks in succession, perfectly rhythmic. Not too loud, not too quiet. Exactly the right tense of a knock.
Do they answer the door?
Dimitri goes to the front door and opens it. And a man is standing at the door. The man does not bother to introduce himself. He looks at the burgomaster and he says, Dimitri. And he looks in and he nods at Anna. He says, Anna. He says, the gods of light have spoken to me. The man Give me 1 second. He is a handsome young man wearing a brown monk's robe. He says, the gods of light have spoken to me. I have been informed of your recent loss. I would like to raise your son.
Ooh.
And Anna looks stunned. And Dimitri says, to raise him? You want to bring him back? And the man says, I would. The Kreskov bloodline must be restored. I will do what I can. And Dimitri ushers him inside. The two of them head straight towards the backyard. And the burgomaster calls to his wife, Anna, help. And they grab shovels and they start to dig up the corpse.
Ramis will edge towards Esmeralda and say, this is madness.
Esmeralda says, I agree, for once. And Ez starts to charge towards the back of the house.
Like she's getting away from the action?
No, she's going towards it.
Okay.
And Irina is following in close pursuit. And they start to gather outside around the two parents digging up their kid's grave.
Did the abbot see Irina?
Yes, the abbot has seen everyone in the house.
Did he have any kind of reaction to her?
No.
Wait, this
Okay.
is the abbot?
It
I'd be
is
suspicious of it. Okay, yeah.
a man dressed in monk's clothing, and you've heard that the town does not have any kind of a priest.
But he doesn't seem scared of him at all. He's just like, what's up, bro?
This man just offered to raise his son from the dead.
Always a bad idea.
So this is the abbot.
We don't know.
Okay.
How long has
No one
his
has
son
bothered to
been dead?
ask.
How long has his son been dead?
A week?
He said last week, so you can presume probably like 10-ish days or less. And as it turns out, to raise someone from the dead with that type of a spell, it needs to be pretty fresh.
Mhm.
It's probably still juicy.
So the group starts to crowd around the situation as it is happening.
I'm going to also gather around the crowd.
Mhm.
I'm excited. I've never seen this before.
The burgomaster and his wife are continuing to dig up the plot. And as Irina and Ismark are all staring on, confused, not knowing exactly how to judge the situation, and not wanting to interfere yet.
No screen looking.
He's Googling stuff.
Screen looker.
That concerns me.
Why?
I don't know.
Mind your own business.
Ez looks at the man and says, "And who are you that the gods of light have chosen to speak with you?" He looks at Ez with a very stern but thoughtful expression. And he says, "I am the abbot. I preside over these types of dealings in the town. And he is surprisingly charming in contrast with what Dimitri has told you of him so far, or Dimitri's perception of him. Keep in mind, you are hearing a perception. And it says, okay, but I know that there are many adverse effects to raising someone from the dead. And the abbot says, sometimes that is true. But in this case, because it is divine intervention, it will be okay. And Ez raises her eyebrow. Divine intervention, you say? There is no divinity here in this land. Not that I am aware of. And the abbot puts his hand on his chest and he says, those who still serve the morning Lord are still able to hear his calls. Ez raises her eyebrow again, suspiciously. And Ez turns to Ramis, she says, what do you make of this?
Like she says that loudly?
Mm-hmm.
Ramis will turn towards Dimitri and Anna and say, I know this is a great tragedy and I know you are desperate to have your son back, but this cannot be the path. Your son is dead.
Dimitri, without stopping digging, replies, the abbot has just told us that he can bring our son back from the dead. What other path is there?
Accepting his death. Your son will never be your son again if he has crossed into the beyond.
He says, how do you know that?
I hold my head, I am Asimar. I am touched by the divine myself. And
upon revealing your goldenness, The abbot takes notice. But does not stir.
What about Anna and Dimitri?
Dimitri says, I'm sorry, I just met you. I must do what is right for my village, and what is right for my village is an heir.
I'm telling you, this is not what is right for your village.
I do not know you well enough to know that. I'm doing what I think is right. And the abbot chimes in, and he says, fear not. It will be a simple ritual, and the boy will be fine.
Sure.
So after about 15 minutes of digging, the two of them are able to dig up their son's corpse. The corpse definitely looks fresh, but it is definitely a dead body. The abbot steps forward over the boy's body. Knowledge check, arcana check from the group.
8.
20.
23.
Nice.
10.
The DC was a 16. So, Kane and Syndra, you both know that there are material components that are required to perform some type of raise dead ritual. And without needing any of those requisite material components, the abbot casts raise dead.
Oh. Kane looks baffled.
Ooh.
Zug is clueless.
And instantaneously, with the touch to life, Ilya's soul rejoins his body. And with a sudden gasp, the body begins to breathe. Ilya starts to breathe faintly after the initial gasp.
It is a miracle.
Anna and Dimitri are stunned, staring at their son. And Anna turns to the abbot and she says, oh, dear morning Lord, we praise you, we praise you. Thank you for this generous act. And she turns to her son and she begins to brush off the dirt, and she raises up his torso and she tends to him. And the burgomaster looks at the abbot in total shock. His grief has disappeared. And he says, there is no way to repay you for this supreme act of kindness. And the abbot says, there might be someday. For now, I have done my due diligence. He says, be at peace with your family. He turns to the group. He gives a slight glance towards Esmeralda. And he turns and he walks away back onto the road from whence he supposedly came.
Well, I don't know if I like this guy. He just did some spooky magic stuff.
Yeah.
It could just be crazy powerful.
That's the most
Ramesh is
crazy
gonna
powerful we
chase
found.
after him.
Yeah, go get him.
I don't know what that means, but
0, 0, 0.
that means 100.
That's
but
100.
I know.
I just rolled 100 on a 100-sided dice.
Whoa!
None of you know what that means, but I rolled 100, so it probably means something.
Ramesh is
We
mixing
get
up the,
magic item.
Why did she roll 100-sided dice?
That's what I'm saying.
See, if I just roll 100-sided dice and I get 100, it doesn't mean anything. When she does it, something's happening.
Mhm. While the abbot is leaving, could I like investigate the kid? Like, does he look like an animated corpse or does he look like an alive young child?
So I'm hearing the demon sounds again. I think we're okay. So Anna helps her son Ilya up and begins to escort him inside the house. And he's recovering from some severe muscle atrophy, it appears. As you all are examining him, he definitely looks dirty. He looks ragged. He doesn't seem initially like rabid, like a zombie. That's not what you're getting.
Not initially.
He's breathing like pretty lightly. And she brings him into the house and she sits him down onto his cot, little bed. And she goes to the kitchen to prepare some food. And Dimitri chats with the party. And Sindra is continuing to observe Ilya, who is still recovering his breath. And Ilya looks at Sindra and he makes direct eye contact with you.
Uh-oh. Okay.
And he says, "Are you the one who brought me back?"
No, that was the abbot. He just left. Why do you think it was me?
He says, "Everything feels fuzzy right now." And he looks around him. And suddenly, he gets up from the bed, stands on his 2 feet, begins walking on his own. And he makes his way into or over to the cooking or kitchen area where his mom is. Sindra, you're still studying him. And he begins to look around the countertops. He begins to look at the cabinets, look at a bookshelf, a crevice. He's looking around like it's new to him. He opens up a drawer.
Looking for a fucking knife.
Yeah. Are all the knives hidden out of sight? That's what I want to know.
Has Ramesh caught up with the abbot yet?
And Ramesh is running to catch up with the abbot and does.
What have you done? What killed this boy?
The abbot turns to face Ramesh and he says, "I do not know of which you speak. I brought that boy back from the dead.
Why have you done this?
The gods of light deemed the Krezkov line stay intact.
Just now, today, a moment ago.
Today is the day that I learned of his passing.
How did you learn of his passing?
I overheard
From who?
from you.
How?
You were speaking at the pool.
You hear through the pool.
I was nearby.
You were just hiding in the woods.
I do
This
not
is-
hide. I go to visit the pool almost every day. It is sacred area.
You did not make yourself known. You did not know the boy had died.
Why would I make myself known?
What, only to appear moments later?
I had heard of the death, and then the gods appeared to me.
The gods appeared in the ability to raise the dead.
I have always had that ability. Along with many others.
And you could not tell at all what killed him. The gods did not tell you.
The gods did not reveal to me what killed the boy, only that he need be restored.
Why are you leaving?
I'm-
Stay with the boy. They need you.
They do not need me. They seem perfectly fine. I must head back to the abbey.
You did not see that they were perfectly fine.
If they have an issue, I will find out later.
Come stay with us for a while.
I have many duties to be getting back to.
Mm,
Ask him about a scroll of restoration.
I know, it's like, but I don't even know what to add. Like, it just is meant to complement the liquid.
What?
What?
Well, we have the water, and that's supposed to have restorative properties, but
Yeah, but it's diminished, they said, so it doesn't have the same.
so it won't
origin.
actually work, or we assume it won't work.
I'm assuming it won't.
I think we needed a spell of greater restoration. So I don't feel like the water's going to cut it. I feel like we need that scroll.
That's water of mediocre restoration.
And actually, I will take an Arcana check from the group to actually be able to determine what the effects of the water are equivalent to.
Okay.
Roll.
18.
I can do that. Like,
He doesn't want to roll right now.
if
I got a 12.
13.
if you are a vessel of the gods, then you will help us as well.
Help you with what?
Restoring a powerful mage who is a danger to this land.
Powerful mage. What do you mean restoring him?
Saving him from himself.
And what do you require to save him from himself?
A spell of greater restoration.
The abbot ponders for a moment. He says, I believe that I am in possession of something that would be of value to you. He says, I will check, gather
Uh-oh.
my belongings, and I will meet you down at the pool tomorrow morning.
Very well.
He says, scrolls of greater restoration are rare. There will be a hefty fee involved.
Tell me now.
The scroll will cost, well, I will have to check my books, but the scroll will likely cost 1,500 GPs, gold.
What use have you for this much gold?
Well, as you can see, the abbey is quite large and requires much maintenance, much of which falls heavily on myself. And
So you are paying yourself for your own labor.
he says, well, it is not just labor, but it is materials for upkeep.
Saving this wizard would be a boon to this land, including you. We will pay you half of this.
I am not worried of the wizard of which you speak.
I'm not saying he is a threat to you directly, but perhaps to the bloodline which you were just commanded to restore.
He says, I do not appreciate those who come to my village, request things of me, and then tell me that they are not good enough. Now, you are an unusual spirit, and I have not seen an Aasimar in quite some time. For that, I will give you a slightly better rate. I will part with the scroll for 1,400 gold. But that is it. This is for you. It is not for me. I have many uses for that scroll, and it will be difficult for me to acquire another.
I thought you said you had to check your books.
Do you want me to check my books?
Perhaps, if it is worth less to you than 1,400 gold.
It says, it is now worth 1,400 gold to me.
You are an interesting sort of abbot.
Well, I am the only abbot.
This is not your village.
It is my village.
It is the burgomaster's.
It is our village.
Hmm.
And it is quite obvious to me that the burgomaster is now in my debt.
You do this for yourself.
I do not do it for myself. I do it because the gods of light have divinely intervened, and they have told me,
You
I
hide-
am growing weary.
You hide behind your guts. This will not serve you.
He leans towards you. You know nothing.
Have your fun in your tower. I will see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning. And he turns and he walks away. And you definitely picked up a vibe from that conversation that there are lots of things that he is not telling you.
He's evil. He's fucking evil. He's an evil
Okay.
piece of shit.
When in doubt.
And as we, meanwhile, back inside of the burgomaster's cottage, Ilya is still searching, looking for something, unsure of where he is. And you can see, those of you who are in the cottage, specifically Sindra, who's observing him, can see that he is struggling. There's something going on. And suddenly, he reaches into the open drawer and pulls out a fork.
You can do some damage with a fork, okay? Just saying.
Totally. Especially medieval forks.
Are you hungry?
And he walks up behind his mother, Anna. And he says, oh, goodness. I feel famished.
For what?
For mom flesh.
And
I've watched so many zombie movies that start off like this.
And she turns around and she says, I'm nearly done preparing food. Go have a seat. And holding and clutching his fork in his hand, he goes and he sits down at the kitchen table. And as Sindra and whoever else is looking on, but specifically Sindra continues to observe him,
Mhm.
you see that he is shaking and he is clutching the fork and he is starting to dig his fingers into the palm of his hand holding the fork. And
I love like the peanut gallery. Everyone's just like watching this kid not saying shit.
Describing something like out of a horror movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, I am just making this up by the string of my pants.
What?
You're doing a great job.
Why would you say that?
Because I rolled 100.
Oh no.
What does that mean? Ad lib?
Yeah.
And his eyes turn glossy and his lip upturns almost into a smile. And with that,
No.
we will next time on Curse of Strahd campaign.
Curse of the Twisted Smile.
Thanks, DM.
Curse of the Creepy Gabbit. In the weird
That was
fork
fun.
person.
Good one.
Oh, did I freak you out?
A little bit, yeah. What was the name of the person with the fork who's gonna like eat his mom?
Ilya.
Ilya.
Mhm.
Oh wait, Ilya is the person that got returned from the dead,
He's
right?
the son that just
Yes.
got resurrected. Are
Hey,
you
where the
listening?
fuck were you?
Are you
I'm trying-
listening?
Well, we went from the abbot back to him,
Yes.
and I
Yeah.
thought we were talking about the father, not him. But now that you're saying it's him, like
Good.
I see what's going on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's putting 2 and 2.
Pieces are all
And
connecting.
he's making 3.
Hmm.
Ugh. Fun.
This is like Keno's forte over here. Creepy shit.
Murder, maybe
Burn
a
the body.
zombie.
You have no idea,
Damn.
okay? Listen, I don't want to
Yeah, I
feed
don't.
into your narrative, so don't
That's
make
fine.
one.
That's
The
fine.
body came back without the soul.